Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we are talking about something a little controversial. I want to talk to you guys about popular books that I didn't like. Truth be told, because we are friends and I feel like I can share this with you, this is the third time I am recording this video. So hopefully this is the one that sticks and we can get through this and we can finally get this much needed information out in the world. Full disclosure, as I've seen in 1,000 of these videos, these are just my opinions. These are objectively good books. They just were not my taste. And I know that they are objectively good books because I went and looked at all the ratings and all 6 of these books have higher than a 4.0 rating on Goodreads. So again, this is just my opinion, not to be taken terribly seriously, but I figured you guys might want to know. Okay, so what we're going to do is start at the book that is the lowest rated of the 6 on Goodreads and go up from there. So my highest rated but most disliked book will be the one at the very end. All right, our first book is People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. In this book, we are following 2 best friends, Alex and Poppy. They met in college and now 12 years later, their friendship is on the rocks for an unknown, undisclosed reason. So basically the book is following 2 timelines, one in the past from their friendship moving forward and one in current timeline. We know that an event happened a few years prior while they were traveling together. We're not quite sure of what that event is, but we soon come to find out eventually as we make our way through the book. We learn a lot more about their relationship while they traveled together. Reasons this didn't work for me is that it's obviously a friends to lovers romance. In my opinion, if we're gonna do a friends to lovers, we need to really believe why these 2 people wouldn't have gotten together sooner. And this book didn't deliver that. From the very get-go when they meet, you can tell that there's a chemistry, there is something between them, which doesn't necessarily mean, in my opinion, that they would have been a good couple, because that is not the case. I do not think these 2 would have been a very good couple, but you're led to believe that there is some strange feelings here, and for 12 years you're not sure why. They don't just hook up. So that was one of the reasons this just didn't work for me. Another reason was I just didn't really care for Poppy, who is our main protagonist. We only get her point of view, and I thought she was kind of a boring character. The story was kind of all over the place. We get a lot of information that's not really useful to the story from her point of view. And I really just didn't care for her. I thought that Alex was the more interesting character and I would have liked to see his point of view and his perspective on the relationship a little bit more than we did. The other thing I didn't care for in this book was that the ultimate demise of the relationship, the reason that they are kind of in this rocky place, is eventually revealed, of course, and it was really dumb, to be honest. These 2 characters are adults. I believe they're in their 30s, like early 30s or something. This whole thing could have been avoided with a very clear conversation that should have been able to happen between 2 friends. So this ultimate event that we tease throughout the entire course of this book really was a total letdown when you find out what it is. Ultimately, I thought this book was cheesy. I didn't really care for the characters, and ultimately it was super forgettable for me. I gave this one a 2 stars. This one has a 4.05 on Goodreads, so I do know that it has been very popular in the booktube community, but this one was not for me. All right, the next book that I want to talk about is In My Dreams, I Hold a Knife by Ashley Winstead. This book has taken booktube by storm the past year. Everyone seems to love it. Everyone that I follow seems to have it on their favorite books of the year. And this one, it was just a huge letdown for me. We're following our main character, Jessica, who is going back to her 10-year college reunion. You have to forgive me, I read this several months ago at this point, but I believe there was a group of 7 friends in college, and one of them died. By the end of college, she had been murdered, and we're told off the bat that one of these people is responsible. One of the remaining friends is responsible for her death. So essentially, we're introduced to our main character, Jessica, and then teased for 95% of our book about why each of these characters could have done it, what their motivations were. And really, I thought it was just kind of like a poorly done whodunit novel. You know it's one of these 6 people. None of the characters were likable. They're all very vapid. They're all shallow. They're all sleeping with each other. Our main protagonist, Jessica, we're told from the outset that one of the main reasons she's excited to go back to this reunion is to show everyone how beautiful and successful she's become. And everyone was really vapid. You just didn't like any of the characters. Ultimately, we find out who the killer is and everyone goes back to their lives. I thought this book was kind of the definition of basic. There's a thriller, you know, a murder, a whodunit, and a resolution. And that's all we were given. That's not to say I thought this was poorly written. I thought it was well written. I'm actually looking forward to picking up the next release from Ashley Winstead, which is coming out this year. But in terms of this being like unique or original, it just hit the mark for me. I gave this a 3, and on Goodreads this has a 4.07. So I know that the masses really enjoyed this, but this one was really just a letdown for me as a person who loves thrillers. Okay, the next book I want to talk about is obviously another fan favorite, and that is Take a Hint, Dani Brown by Talia Hibbert. This is the only Talia Hibbert I've read, and I will not be continuing with the series because I think this is a trilogy. But in this one we are following two main characters, Dani and Zafir. It's a friends to lovers romance, I guess we'd call it again. Fake dating scenario as well. It kind of follows both. These two people that there's an event at the school that they work at, and to help promote our main character's new business, they decide to continue this fake relationship. Ultimately, my reason for not liking this one is I don't like the way the character of Dani was portrayed. I loved Zafir. I thought he was wonderful. He's the perfect type of main male lead that you love in a hopeless romance novel. But the character of Dani I really disliked. I really hate this trope of having women either being hopeless romantics or hard-headed, emotionally unavailable, and here for the sex only. I hate that those are the two extremes. In this case, Dani was the hard-headed, I am woman, here for the sex, unattached, emotionally unavailable. And I didn't think she deserved our male main character. I just found her really annoying to read about. Why do we have romances where our two main characters are on such different pages? It drives me crazy. I didn't understand why she had to be so hard-headed and so guarded. I'm just not a fan of that type of character, to be honest. I liked the minority representation, you know, with both of our main characters. I liked the setting. I liked that it was an academia type setting. I didn't mind any of that stuff. And again, like in the last one, the writing was fine. I just didn't like our main character. I don't like that type of character, and I hate when women are portrayed like that. I don't think it portrays women as being like tough or strong. I just think it's an unattractive quality to be so hard-headed. Ultimately, I gave this one 2 stars as well. This one has a 4.08 on Goodreads. All right, the next book I want to talk about is more of a difficult book to express my feelings on because it is a memoir, and I really hate judging somebody's life experience and the fact that they're vulnerable and they wrote a book about it. So for that reason, I did not read this book, but that is Somebody's Daughter by Ashley C. Ford. I think my reason for disliking this book comes from the fact that, in my opinion, it was vastly mismarketed. This book is marketed as a story about a girl whose father is incarcerated for a violent crime, one that she doesn't learn about until near adulthood, and just her life, you know, living with an absent father, what that was like for her, etc. I thought that was a really interesting concept. What this book really is about is her difficult relationship with her abusive and neglectful mother as a result of her father being incarcerated. If I had known that that was our main topic, I likely wouldn't have picked this book up. As a mother myself, I find it really difficult to read about the mother-child neglect dynamic. It's just not a topic that I am interested in reading about, especially in my nonfiction. We're also faced with Ashley's ideation of her father, which really bothered me in this book. You know he's in jail, you know he's there for a violent crime, but for some reason she idolizes him. She really compares herself to him. She relates to him throughout her life and speaks to that a lot. And I found that really hard to just digest. It was uncomfortable for me. I didn't like it. That is not to say she is a bad writer. She's actually a very lovely writer. And I know she has a really strong social media presence. This one just, it wasn't for me. This does have a 4.12 on Goodreads. So if this sounds like something you would enjoy, definitely go check it out. All right, the next book on my list is probably the only book that I've hated in the last year or so. And this one seems to be beloved by everyone. I cannot get over it. And that is Verity by Colleen Hoover. You guys, I hated this book. everyone loves this book. When I see people talk about this, they talk about it like it's the second coming, like this thriller of all thrillers, like this twist of all twists. I thought this book was so bad. First of all, our main character is so intensely dislikable. You know, we're following this main character who is asked to finish writing this book series by a very popular author who has been recently incapacitated in an accident. But she's essentially living in a vegetative state in the upstairs of the house. Within weeks of being there, this new writer, this main character, whose name I can't even remember, has fallen in love with the writer's husband, is essentially mothering her child, and is assuming her life. I just thought she was very strange. She was very weak. She finds this manuscript that alludes to our twist and all the terrible things that this author has done. And frankly, like, everyone talks about this twist and how great it is. And I mean, this is a thriller. We went into this knowing this was a thriller, right? Like, are we not used to like obvious misdirection or like an unreliable narrator? Like I feel like this twist was so obvious to me. Like, there was no way that this overarching thing, I don't want to say too much, I don't want to give spoilers, but you know, this manuscript that she's reading was what it says it was. For me, this was just predictable. It was poorly written. The characters were severely unlikable. And I know like thrillers aren't supposed to be conceivable, but that's sometimes the fun of it, is that maybe sometimes they are. This one was just like totally off the rails. Hated everything about it. Absolutely shocked that people love this book so much. This was a 1 star for me. And this is a 4.41 on Goodreads. This is the one that blows my mind. I don't understand that at all. But yeah, I mean, everybody, you know, there's something out there for everybody. But yeah, did not like this one. All right, and the last and most highly rated book that I want to talk about that did not work for me is The House in the Cerulean Sea by T.J. Klune. Oh, this book. This is a fantasy, magical realism. I don't even know how we're going to characterize this. I would have called it a young adult. It's not. I looked into it. This book is tough to describe. I'm going to be perfectly straight with you guys. I didn't finish it. It's a DNF for me. I only got about 100 pages in. But what I read was just super ooey gooey. We have a lot of themes of like finding yourself and loving yourself as you are. And sometimes these types of books, you know how they're gonna end, but you're expected to read the 500 pages to like get there. If you can look at me honestly and say like this book wasn't predictable, I think I'd say you were lying. I just didn't like this book. I thought it was super juvenile. I definitely thought this was a YA. I didn't like the characters. I was really confused by this idea that these were supposed to be children in this house. I almost had the vision of like Miss Peregrine's, like these really unique, peculiar, strange children. And I was really confused when we ended up meeting like a bird, and a lawn gnome, and a blob. This just was very confusing to me. And furthermore, to add to that, I picked up the audiobook thinking I could get through it a little faster, and the audiobook was really bad, you guys. Oh my god, that was really, really bad. I didn't like it at all. So be warned, if you're gonna try this book, don't do the audio. It's very weird. The voices are very strange. It makes it even more like difficult to get through, even more unbelievable in my opinion. But I just didn't care for this book. I know what it was going for. I understand the themes. I can appreciate that type of story. But in an adult book, I thought it was a little juvenile, and I wanted to love this so much. Everybody loves this. Like I said, I didn't rate this because it was a DNF, but this is a 4.47 on Goodreads. So this is definitely a favorite, not of mine, but of most people's, I would say. But yeah, did not like House in the Cerulean Sea. All right, guys, thank you for checking out this video. I hope I didn't offend anybody. I like all my new friends that I've made here, so please stick around. I am sorry if some of these were your favorites. They're just not for me, and that's okay. We can have different opinions. That's what makes this conversation so great. So let me know in the comments below what you guys think of these books. Let me know what some of your favorites and least favorites are. Let's get a discussion going. Also, I wanted to say, you guys, follow me on Instagram. I'm super active over there. I always post when I have a new video. It's the same as my YouTube handle. It's just Rachel's Bookmark. Give me a follow over there. Come check out a little bit of my day-to-day life, and yeah, hopefully I'll see you over there. Again, thank you guys so much. I can't wait to see you guys again soon. Thanks for checking this out. Have a good one.